Right, so here's the story that of the life healing that I wanted to tell you guys. When I first started with the old negative EFT, where we looked for the trauma, only ever the trauma, or what's the problem? We tap on the problem to try and find the causative event, and then tap that causative event away, as it were, put energy flow in. And if you were lucky, some people really did have the, oh my God, hallelujah experience. And these people obviously were much in love with tapping and became great ambassadors for tapping. And I was one of these people all the way back in 1998. And one of the things that kept coming up, so I have problem X, whatever the hell that problem is. And the question then is always, what's the trauma? And when that question was asked, what's the trauma? One particular incident kept coming up on different topics, all sorts of different topics. Why aren't I more successful? Why aren't I making more money? Why am I not more beautiful? Whatever the hell the question was, this trauma kept coming up. And yeah, you may laugh, but for children, traumas are traumas, and we don't argue. And a person who was beaten with a small stick doesn't get any brownie points compared to a person who was just beaten with a fist. It's, we have trauma's trauma, So here we have a 5-year-old aspect of mine at a fairground at night, which was very, very exciting for the aspect, who did not get to go out much, ever. With her parents, she was there with her parents. And there was a lottery booth, and a ticket was purchased. And the guy from the lottery booth took the ticket and said, oh, you've won a typewriter, to the 5-year-old child. And the 5-year-old child had a total star experience at that moment. But when it came to hand over the prize, instead of the typewriter, it was a pencil. And for the aspect, the world just collapsed. Totally collapsed. I mean, she'd had such high hopes that one of her major problems, which was not being able to do nice, tidy handwriting, and particularly not being able on like a 0 or an O to close the loop so that it would meet at the top. And she got hit for that time and time and time again. It was a real problem because she liked writing. She liked writing stories and writing things down. She thought it was magical. So the idea of a typewriter where every letter would always be perfect was absolute hallelujah for this little child. When she was then presented with a pencil, she absolutely it was a freak out of epic proportions. And this freak out came up when we kept asking about the trauma. And I tapped and I tapped and I tapped and I tapped, and it would not release. Or it would come up again in a different context a week later. And I tapped and I tapped and I tapped, and it never resolved. It never resolved. So eventually I just got tired of it. I don't know if you have some trauma you've tapped your fingers bloody on and it keeps coming up, but you just get tired of it. That's the whole thing with cognitive behavioral therapy, isn't it? You just get bored with it, tired with it. It doesn't heal. Just sort of learn to live with it eventually because you just can't be asked anymore. Yeah. And so somebody on Star Matrix Forever group, that's the group for the people who've completed the Star Matrix Masters course, has a thing going on about writing at the moment. And there that memory came back up again that I tapped on so many times. But this time it switched back, just backwards, to step backwards to that moment when the whole universe expanded. And there was this, not just the possibility of perfect writing, but the reality of it. I can do perfect writing. That star moment was immense. It was universe expanding. It was glorious. It was like an enlightenment event. And that was the important event. That sad little man with his joke with the pencil, this is nothing. Nothing at all. Yeah, that was the trauma, sure. But that wasn't what made my life. What made my life was the love of writing and the love of perfect writing. A little bit later after this pencil thing, an aspect learned that if you turn a fountain pen upside down, you're actually producing writing like calligraphy, and it looks really neat. And then an aspect, when she was a teenager, really pushed the parents like nobody's business for a professional typing course. And there was the perfect writing. And it was beautiful. And to this day, I consider my ability to touch type as a superpower. I can touch type so fast, and I can let my ideas flow from the energy mind through my conscious mind into my mobs, into my fingers. And it's the star event that connects all those dots on my timeline, where you're going, oh, that's why. Now I understand. There's that theme of the perfect writing flowing through all these star aspects. And I'm like, oh, wow. And this trauma thing is just so insignificant. It was never the answer. It was the answer to the question, what trauma is related to this problem? But it wasn't the answer to what's really going on here in the energy system, what the problem really is. Now, as I was writing this up for Star Matrix Forever yesterday, it sort of came to my awareness that the reason the little aspect had so much trouble with writing was because she was probably left-handed. I still do a lot of sort of things like trying to mount bicycles and motorbikes and horses from the wrong side. According to other people, I sew the wrong way around when I'm sewing, and I also iron the wrong way around when I'm ironing. And there's sort of other weird things, like I'm very ambidextrous and I can write backwards and upside down with both hands. So it is possible that this left-right-handed business and the difficulty with the writing for the young aspect is actually related to possibly having been left-handed naturally. And this whole thing, the perfect writing thing, is just sort of a link to that. But again, looking at this from the star matrix angle, I am not thinking about all the beatings I got for doing things with the wrong hands in the wrong way. There'd be lots of them. What I'm thinking about is the interesting thing that actually, because of that, I can do upside down writing, mirror writing fluently. I can write backwards. That's really groovy because you really need to know what is at the end of the sentence before you start writing it down. And all sorts of other interesting, sort of little mini superpowers that I have that other people find difficult. So it's really kind of groovy. And as you're thinking about the groovy things and the cool things, it's the trauma recedes further and further away. It becomes less and less significant. And the real story of your life actually becomes revealed. Loads of things go click, 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 click. That makes sense, and that makes sense, and that's why I do it like that. And that is how it's connected. And this is why I still love the concept of perfect writing and perfect communication. Okay, you can strive for that till the end of your days, but it's what a lovely goal to have. So if I was to, tap on it now, I would use this power positive perfect writing. In fact, I am might do a video on that just for fun, just to see what happens in real time when I do that. Power of the positives. Wow, So yeah, and my energy mind just sent me sort of a double screen of that child at the fairground I was telling you about. Might have been 3 years old, something 3 to 4 years. 3, I think, so young. You got 2 children there. One is the one that has this desire for perfect writing, not just as a result of being beaten up. That's a sort of a side effect. But she herself was really frustrated that she couldn't do the perfect writing, because she wanted to do perfect writing. It wasn't about them yelling and shouting and hitting at all. She wanted that, even as a small child. And this one child here standing there and having this enlightenment experience of the possibility and potential of perfect writing, with the colored lights of the fairground and all the sounds going on. That's that one child. Then we have the other child after the pencil is given. And this child is howling, it's screaming, it's crying its eyes out, heartbroken, on the floor, thrashing about. Now, I'm going to ask you seriously now, which one's the real child? Which one is the child that is important? You know, you can destroy anybody easily enough. Which information is more important? From this child who's having the enlightenment experience, or the child that's screaming and crying on the floor? This is my story of the trampled lilies in the forest. If you really want to know your true nature, your true path, your true mission, your true abilities, you've got to look at your star memories. And the moment you start doing that, you will end that nightmare of trauma, at least for yourself.